And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
What is going on, Tampa Bay? Welcome to RBLR Bucs, your home for all things Buccaneers football. I'm your guy, Musab, one of your co-hosts tonight for this evening. And as always, man, oh man, it is an absolute pleasure to have you rocking with us. Seriously, whether you're tuning in, on your drive or at the gym or, just kicking back, we appreciate every single one of you. Now, look, we are officially 1 week down in the off season, and hey, that's a win. Or another week down is what I meant. So that being said, look, it's a win. We're getting closer and closer to the good stuff. So, we're talking NFL draft season and the rest of the roster moves and rumors from all around the league flying left and right. So you know how it gets during this time of the year, a little sprinkle of that season of the interns. But here's the deal, Bucs fans. This is your time. No games, no distractions, just pure football talk. So we want to hear from you, all right? What moves you want to see? Maybe who should we draft? Maybe what needs to change? Or maybe you just think everything that comes out of me and Carter's mouth is absolutely bogus and you want to tell us that we're wrong. We're all open here. Seriously, don't be shy. Drop your takes, your comments, your hot opinions, wherever you're listening to this, because at the end of the day, this show is not complete without you. And of course, we got to show love to the entire RBLR crew, holding it down across the Tampa Bay, covering, our Rays, Lightning, Rowdies, our Sun, and even our beloved University of South Florida Go Bulls with the legend, Mr. Carter Brantley. So, yeah, we just got done with that. But you already know, it's never a one-man show. So I want to bring in my guy coming in hot out of the Sunshine State, repping Tampa Bay, looking to bring some heat to this off season, just like the rest of us. Mr. Carter Brantley, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Long time no see. It's almost like we didn't just do like a 45-minute long episode on USF, which far more exciting. Y'all need to check that out. RBLR Bulls, the RBLR Sports channel. We've got some, like Musab said, man, so much cool content coming out. And we're here to talk about the Bucs, though. As much as it's been, like Musab said, it's been a tough start because it's the off season, it's the season of the interns, all that stuff, and we're getting near the, getting closer and closer to the NFL draft, like Musab said, but also a lot of free agency talk to wrap up as well, because it's still kind of fresh. The Mike Evans departure is still kind of sad. We won't touch on that too much because the feelings are still raw and there's still a lot of weirdness going on, but I did want to touch on one last signing that we didn't get to speak about the last time. El Quadin Muhammad. He was the other edge rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson last year with the Detroit Lions, and he had a really productive season. And he signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Bucs. So the Bucs are hopeful that he can continue that production. He's a little bit longer in the tooth than a guy you would look at and say, oh yeah, like this is the start of a new form of his career. So I thought this is a really fascinating deal. Maybe not good, maybe not bad, just interesting. Are you confident that he can sort of replicate last year's production, or do you think that was more of him playing alongside Aiden Hutchinson, getting a lot of favorable matchups? Because I like the Yaya Diaby. Aiden Hutchinson, he is not. So what are your thoughts on this Muhammad signing? Do you think he has a good shot to repeat last year, or at least come close to what he was doing last year in Detroit?
I hope so. And I think so. I mean, obviously, yeah, he's got more of that, veteran edge rusher, vibe to him. But yeah, look, he's coming off a breakout season. Dude, we need all the pass rush help we can get. And it's legit production. I do want to I'll give credit, maybe there is a little bit of that Hutchinson factor as well. But I don't want to kind of just overhype that, idea either. He also had multiple, multi-sack games last year. So it wasn't just like, he was just, getting it here, there. He wins one-on-one matchups. So yeah, he can get to the QB on the ground. I mean, look, if we get something going on, I think that's better than what we had last year. So worst comes to worst, he's a good rotational weapon. You keep guys like, Yaya Diaby fresh, but I think it's not a risky one. I think it's a high value signing. So
Yeah.
Plus, there's always that, maybe veteran leadership, helping the young guys develop. I feel like he's got a lot of experience under his belt. So,
For sure.
um, the only thing is, just the concern is he's just not elite. I feel like we're all looking for someone elite, to join our defense. So,
Yeah.
it's nice to see the production, jump. So it's a 1-year deal. So look, low risk, high reward. I can't be mad at it.
That's the perfect way to put it. Low risk, high reward. Because, like you said, there's this saying with baseball signings, and you can say it for football signings, really too. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal, because after 1 year it's done, and you can, if it's really that bad, you can cut them in the terms of football, or you DFA them in terms of baseball. Regardless, it's easy to move on from. It doesn't prevent you from making big moves in the future. I know if Zach Blaine were here, he would say, "Oh, well, the Bucs never make any big moves, so who cares?" But that's okay. We'll bring Zach back on so he can claim those things. But regardless, I do like the value in terms of $5 million for a guy who had double-digit sack total last year. I know sacks are not, it's the result, it's not the process, so you don't want to focus on it too much. But for $5 million, you can stretch and justify it. It's fine. I'm not. It's a bit disappointing in the fact that I think this is probably all that they do in terms of outside help and free agency with the pass rush. But it's also not necessarily going to prohibit them from making a move in the draft if they see an edge rusher there at 15 or in later rounds. Obviously, it's not going to prevent them from doing this taking that person, because this isn't a whole lot invested. So even if he is relegated, like you said, to more of a rotational pass rusher, that's fine. Him, Chris Braswell, Anthony Nelson, hopefully Mr. Walker, I believe he was the 5th round pick last year, I think. Maybe 4th, the super productive small school guy who was putting up gaudy numbers in D2 or D3. I'm excited to see him play. So I'm glad that this isn't the type of signing that's going to prevent him from getting playing time if he impresses enough in the preseason. But we'll see. Like I said, $5 million just isn't a whole lot. So this might have to do more with the value, honestly. Like, it was kind of like one of those things like, well, why not? Like, why not bring this guy in? Because he could be, even if he's half as good as he was last year, even if he only puts up 5.5 or 6 sacks, like, that's still a heck of a lot better than most of the Bucs pass rushers were last year. So I don't know. I wasn't too disappointed. I wasn't super excited, but I also wasn't super disappointed. I saw the logic in it. But speaking of disappointment, there were some free agents that maybe the Bucs should have targeted. Were there any guys that you looked at that were signed elsewhere that you were thinking, man, I really wish the Bucs would have signed him? I know there were a lot of veterans that signed deals elsewhere. What were your thoughts on the rest of the free agent class this year?
Yeah, you had mentioned, when Jonathan Allen, I think, was one name that I wish we kind of missed out on. Pro Bowl caliber, defensive tackle, brings that interior pass rush, that we lack. So I think he had 30 something pressures, from the inside or something. I'm gonna have to check that up again. But I mean, he's an animal. Again, these guys are all experienced. Or a little bit more, older. So it's not like we're going to get some young stud or something like that. Well, we, I guess, technically had the opportunity with, I don't want to say young studs with, Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, but those are the two big ones we really wanted or should have got if we wanted to make that splash. But other than that, though, no, that's probably. I mean, there's a handful. I mean, really, any pass rusher, who's been signed, who was, pretty decent. But even then, there weren't that many. I don't know. I didn't think too much of it other than, just the Crosby and Hendrickson situation. Yeah. I'm pretty satisfied with, getting Muhammad, for a low value deal. Sure. I feel like this could be a potential steal. I'm also thinking, like you mentioned, David Walker. Maybe that's something that, our office is thinking is, hey, let's at least give him a chance or something and see, maybe we don't need to, reach out that far and get some, big money, edge rusher or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting, the whole idea of roster construction. Like if you can find value in those middle round day 3 fellas like a David Walker, they found this. I know Zion McCollum wasn't great last year, but in terms of his draft positioning, he has been a pretty big success. Like if you can get a guy on a second contract as a starter, even if he's not a great one, even if he's just an average starter at his position, then that's usually pretty good. So if David Walker can turn into that, if he can turn into like an average or above average pass rusher, that would be massive for the Bucs, obviously. And I do think the talent is there. The injury was really unfortunate last year. It kind of hampered what could have been a more interesting defense, at least, even if it wasn't necessarily good. At least you could have had a little bit more clarity, a little bit more confidence about who he is as a player. And yeah, it was kind of a bummer. But yeah, I love the Jonathan Allen shout out in terms of free agents that they kind of missed. I also wouldn't have minded them bringing in Khalil Mack. I feel like Khalil Mack and the Bucs have been kind of a wish list type of thing for a while now. He's kind of gone back to the Chargers a whole bunch, and rightfully so. Like the Chargers treat him well and all that stuff. But it would have been cool to see them bring him in. Dre Greenlaw, also another one, an off-ball linebacker. He went back to San Francisco after a little brief hiatus or stop off in Denver. He would have been interesting, but I really love the Alex Anzalone deal, and we'll get to our favorite and least favorite Bucs signings. But Alex Anzalone, he's a good one for sure. But it would have been fun to see them bring him in alongside Anzalone. You can have two. It's okay to have two. Like the Raiders did this with Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, and I thought that was a really interesting sort of way of doing things. So. Yeah, there were still some other free agents that I maybe would have taken a look at, but it's the Bucs. I'm sure they did their due diligence. Obviously you can talk all the smack you want about Jason Light and deservedly so in some cases, but I wouldn't put it past him to have at least called a lot of these guys. But speaking of calling on some guys that they could still bring in, there are a lot of free agents still out there. And I wanted to touch on a couple because I thought that these guys were really interesting. Juwan Jennings is a name that I've seen floated out there. I know Mike Evans leaving kind of maybe leaves a potential hole in one of their wide receiver spots, specifically on the outside. He's an excellent blocker. He's done a lot of the small things right in San Francisco, but he really emerged recently, especially with Brandon Ayuk. Who knows what's going on with him, and Deebo Samuel going to Washington. He kind of stepped up into that bigger role in San Francisco and really capitalized on it. Nick Bosa, he had a decent season for Buffalo this past year. He would be an interesting veteran presence to add to this pass rush room. And Joel Bitonio, or Bitonio, I can't ever pronounce his last name, but he's a veteran interior offensive lineman. I really like him a lot in terms of potentially starting, frankly, off jump. But at the very least being one of the most high-level backups in the NFL. I always kind of struggle with this concept of like, oh, well, if he's an older guy, he doesn't necessarily want to go somewhere to be a backup. I don't know if that's always the case. If a guy's going to have a shot to playing time, like Ben Bredesen, Cody Mount go down, he's the first guy up, and obviously you don't want that to happen, but he could also just beat out Ben Bredesen for an interior offensive lineman spot. So I thought that was really interesting. But were there any other guys? Are there any other guys that are still out there that you think the Bucs could maybe bring in? I don't know. There's a couple of I know there's a linebacker that's still out there that played with the Bucs last year, and he's still a free agent if he doesn't retire. So are there any names that you think of that the Bucs could still bring in from this free agent class?
From the top of my head, there's, I know there was, I was thinking of like, how do you say it? L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. He just got cut by the Titans. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he had a pretty good time with the Chiefs, and then fortunately didn't work out with the Titans.
Yeah.
I think there's also some injury history.
Yeah.
I think so. That's the only thing is, there was, I remember I saw my buddy sent me a list of some free agents, and I was going through it. Let me see if I can even pull it up right now. For example, I remember even Levante David was on there, but yeah, I told him immediately regarding that. I was like, yeah, no, but yeah, he was thinking, he was thinking Deebo maybe for the right price, but I doubt there's any sort of right price or anything like that.
Yeah.
Deebo's not. We're just gonna offer him what? We're gonna offer him like chump change or something.
Sure.
The way he's gonna see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's tough about him is he thrives. He can be an outside guy, but he's more of a gadget slot type of receiver. And
we already have that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of a role that's a bit redundant with this current roster. But hey, you never know. Like the Bucs could view him as a guy that maybe brings a little bit more juice to that wide receiver room because they don't necessarily have a guy that's super explosive or whatever you want to call Deebo Samuel. He's really good with the ball after he the yards after the catch with him is really off the charts. Obviously, he's a bit older, so it's a bit tougher to project that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really fascinating. But yeah, you touched on Lavonte David, man. I don't know. I don't know what to make of him. I don't know if he'll be returning. I don't know if he's looking to retire or if he's looking to play elsewhere. But there's also Bobby Okikri. He recently got released by the Giants, and he was a captain there. He had a decent little run with the Giants. Before that, I think he was in Indianapolis, and he's been a decent off-ball linebacker. Pairing him with Alex Anzalone would make for a pretty sizable upgrade to that linebacker room, but there's something to be said for bringing back David, having him be a career-long Buck. So if you had to choose between Okikri and Lavonte David, where are you leaning? I know you might have kind of given it away by kind of saying, hey, Lavonte David's not great, but where's your head at in that regard?
Oh man, I'll probably just go with David. Why get rid of the guy who's been with us? But
if he retires, I think Okikri's a very good backup for that. Veteran linebacker, so to speak.
Oh, for sure. I would. Yeah, I mean, then now I'm thinking about it. I mean, out of love and respect, I would probably go Lavonte David. But if I'm putting on my Jason Light cap or my Glazer cap, hell, if I'm putting on my Glazer cap, I'm cutting a lot of dudes. Anyways, no, then I would probably go Bobby Okikri. But I did actually get that list. I'm trying to see some other names. I don't know if there's any updates. This was sent a couple of days ago, so I don't know if they're there's always well, I was gonna say Mekhi Becton.
Oh, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, it's tough with him, man. He had a rough year last year with the Chargers.
Yeah,
I don't know what to make of him, man, because he's, he obviously played really well in Philly, but they have that offensive line coach that's just out of this world. And he also played next to Lane Johnson. He was playing next to Landon Dickerson and Kelsey and all those excellent Philadelphia Eagles offensive linemen. So it's really hard to say. He went to LA and just was awful, like borderline unplayable at certain points. So I don't know. He's uber talented, like one of the most athletic offensive linemen in the NFL, probably. But yeah, it's tough, man. He's a tough one because I'd imagine he might ask for a little bit more money than he probably deserves, or maybe he knows it just as well as everyone else how poorly he played, I'd imagine. So I don't know. But were there any other names off that list that kind of jumped out to you?
Ooh, well, one name that did jump out to me just because of the history is Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, man, the cornerback room is an interesting one because
that's also the big thing is the whole injury history as well.
Yeah, he's missed a lot of time.
Yeah,
and he's not getting any younger either. Like he is very much a long in the tooth kind of fella as well. But he'd be an interesting one. He's had that experience with Mike Evans. Maybe he wants to go play in the NFC West and try to follow Mike Evans. I don't know, and start that beef up again. Yeah, he'd be a fun one because that cornerback room after. It's Benjamin Morris and Zion McCollum and Jacob Parrish. Those are kind of the three starters, but gets real thin after that. And I'm assuming they'll address it in the draft and whatnot, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to add another guy. So, yeah, there's still some fun names out there. I don't know how realistic a lot of them are for the Bucs. These seem like the type of guys that are maybe going to be coming in after I think it's the June 1st cut designation or whatnot for the offseason. So maybe these are a little bit later in the offseason signings. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll keep y'all in the loop and see what other upgrades the Bucs can make to this roster externally. And if you're looking for an external upgrade for your wardrobe, head to shop.rblrsports.com. We've got some really great gear out there for you. We'd really appreciate you coming by and, looking for some Tampa Bay sports gear. We'd really love it. We'll give you a promo code. That's Cannon, CANNONS. Type that in, get 10% off your entire order. We'd really appreciate it. Way to support the podcast, support the show. Moving on to the second half of our episode. I wanted to keep talking about this free agency class that the Bucs have brought in because I thought it was really interesting. I was thinking about it. And, looking at this, the good part of the free agency class that I thought, or at least the silver lining, if you want to call it that, is that I don't think it really alters much of the Bucs draft plans. It keeps them pretty versatile, if you will. Like, it keeps their options open. There's not really a position where the Bucs could draft in round one that I would say, man, what are they doing? So is that sort of how you feel, Musab, or do you see any of these moves that really push down any of the priorities position wise for the draft?
No, I mean, even look, man, I'm so happy we got Alex Anzalone, but we still need a linebacker, man. Servassier Dennis, I think, is or not. I think we can all agree is definitely not it. But I guess I mean, I'll probably say running back room in the later rounds was probably like something I was like, let's see, if we do something with Rashad White departing, maybe, but we find a potential hidden gem, but that's, shut down. But anything other than that, I would also say maybe I'll probably say anything later rounds. You're just gonna find the best guy. I would probably say maybe more offensive line, but for the beginning, it's still gonna be a linebacker, edge, even DBs, man. Specifically at corners. Just honestly, man, just give me the best guy you can on defense for the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, I mean, really, like you said, anyone from the cornerback, linebacker, edge room, even interior defensive line. I know that might not make a lot of sense to some folks, but it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to have some backup for Cansey, because Cansey just unfortunately hasn't been able to stay on the field a whole lot over the years since he's been drafted. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to maybe try to venture in that area either. But yeah, like you said, I think best player available on the defensive side of the ball. You can pretty much maybe not safety, I guess, in round one. But if he's a versatile enough piece to where he can line up on the inside, like on the slot, maybe they view Parrish as being good enough to kick him outside. Maybe that could be a thought process there. I know Tyke Smith has played in the slot, but he seemed to really settle in at the safety spot. So I kind of would prefer, obviously, Tyke to stay at the safety position. I think that's where he's probably most comfortable. But there's a lot of flexibility, like you said. I'm in total agreement. I don't think there's really a position that they could go with that I would be opposed to them taking. Frankly, like I know Sadiq from Oregon, the tight end, has kind of been a fun name.
I've seen him in a couple of mocks. I mean, he's a freakish athlete, dude. So
yeah,
on the offensive side, that's probably one guy I would be flexible with.
Yeah, and bringing in Otten is fun, but the good news is you can run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Sadiq and Otten, and I actually think that turns Otten from like a average to below average receiving tight ends and an above average blocker to being like an above average blocker to being at least an average receiving tight end, because then it's like, oh crap, like we got to have 2 big body guys out in coverage, because you got to have guys that can match up, and then that really creates some matchup problems. And like you said, Sadiq is insane. I would not be opposed to them taking him at all. And even receiver, I know going receiver 2 years in a row in the first round is kind of maybe a little kooky, but like they just lost Mike Evans, like, your all-time receiving leader. I know he was hurt for most of last year, but still, you got to factor in like Chris Godwin a little bit long in the tooth. So, he's got the injury concerns as well. But Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka are a very good 1-2 option, but it's always nice to have that third guy. And Chris Godwin could be that third guy, but it's also nice to have contingency plans, not only for his injuries and age, but also for when it's time to move on from Chris Godwin, because he's not going to be a Buck forever. I'm with you. I don't think that there's any drafts pick or any move in the draft that I would really be totally opposed to, quite frankly, at this point. So we'll see how they do. We'll talk more about the draft prospects as the draft draws closer, because we're going to get into the specific positions as well as guys that we like at the specific position in each round, in each phase of the draft. We'll go round 1 and 2, round 3, or round 1, round 2 and 3, and then day 3 picks. We'll do all of that in future episodes. So definitely stay tuned for that. But moving on to the free agency signings that the Bucs brought in specifically, I kind of wanted to talk about our favorite signings and maybe some of our least favorite signings, because we don't have to agree with everything that Jason Light does. As much as I think that he's a decent GM, there are some times where I disagree pretty wholeheartedly with what he does. So Musab, what was your favorite Bucs signing? Because I want to start as positive. So what was your favorite Bucs signing from this offseason so far?
I gotta go Alex Anzalone.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got to be him. I mean, the other ones were nice too, but that was. I feel like yeah, the linebacker room was a huge question mark.
sure.
I mean, dude, you look at our linebacker room, excluding Alex Anzalone, and it's Servassier Dennis and Nick Jackson. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the inside linebackers. So
Right.
yeah, man.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. I don't really yeah, I don't really know what to say about the rest of the linebacker room, but yes, I agree. Alex Anzalone was one of my favorite signings as well because he is so good in coverage. He turns a potential weakness from this past year into a potential strength. Like he can really drop back there and do his job, take care of business. Really covers his assignments well, and he's a veteran presence out there. So even if Levante David potentially moves on, Alex Anzalone has been a captain in previous spots with the Lions. So he could step into that leadership role, the green dot and everything. So it'll be really fun to watch him hopefully go out there and do his thing and really take advantage of the fact that he's going to be linebacker one. Like it's sort of his pirate ship, if you will, to steer. So it'll be really interesting to watch. I did want to give one shout out because we didn't really touch on it very much last week. Miles Killebrew, special team signing, granted,
Mm-hmm.
so the upside not there, but special teams was awful last year. Like we talked about it quite a bit. Like their coverage on special teams was abysmal. Like it was getting to the point where Chase McLaughlin was just having to boot it into the end zone and just give up a touchback. And I know we harped on how bad the defense was this past season. And I know they weren't great, but like it's not helping starting from the positions that they were every possession. Like having a touchback every possession, that's not doing your already somewhat struggling defense any favors. It turns a below average defense into a bad defense when you have that type of starting field position. So, not saying that Miles Killebrew fixes all of that, but it's certainly a good start and it's a good step in the right direction for a group that was a very underrated part of why the Bucs were so bad at stretches last year. Obviously, they had that miraculous meltdown, and it was nasty. And I was not thrilled with what the special teams were doing. Obviously, they brought back Riley Dixon, the punter, as well. It wasn't necessarily him on the special teams coverage that was the reason why they were so bad. So I didn't mind that either. So, yeah, hopefully the new coordinator can do a good job, and Killebrew has some prior experience with him. So that should be kind of a under the radar. Like I know the all the sexy positions like running back, wide receiver, and even pass rush and quarterback, they'll get all the attention, but it's really special teams can make or break seasons sometimes. And I think it played a part in the Bucs season last year breaking, so to speak. So Miles Killebrew, an established veteran, can really bring some stability to that special teams group, hopefully. But on the flip side of that coin, least favorite signings of the Bucs so far in this offseason. Were there any guys that they brought in that really made you kind of scratch your head and kind of made you think, like, what are we doing here? I know I have one, but I want to hear yours first, Mr. Tariq. Who was your least favorite signing that the Bucs had from this past?
Dude, I actually, I don't really know if I even really have one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking of all the moves we've made, and none of them really, had me like, oh, I mean, I guess I've just been so, love and hate with this Kate Otten guy. So, re-signing him just because we re-signed Cole Keith, I guess would technically be my least favorite signing or
Sure.
re-signing. Least favorite, kind of new player signing. I'm cool with all of them, honestly. I
Okay.
totally understand Miles Killebrew, why he's there, to help out with special teams. I was first like, what's going on with the whole Gainwell situation because we're also paying Sean Tucker. But I understand that, he can also help out with our special teams being a kick returner. So, and then the other ones, just, helping out, where needed be. Sean Robinson, Muhammad. And then I'll tell you, I'm a little relieved that we got Jake Browning at quarterback.
Yeah.
I only want to say that just because for once or finally we got someone who's played, recently, because who's it been these last couple of years, dude? Blaine Gabbert, Kyle Trask, Teddy Bridgewater,
Yeah.
and then, Pratt never played.
Right.
Connor Bazelak never played. You know what I'm saying? So at least we've seen something. I'm not gonna. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say Jake Browning is, the greatest backup ever alive or something. But
right, but definitely an upgrade. An upgrade, I think.
Oh yeah, dude. I'll take Jake Browning and in crutches before Kyle Trask. You know what I'm saying, dude?
Yikes! Not
just because. Yeah, I mean, clearly, if any of those guys did something or whatever, there would be some indication. But
yeah, they'd still be
fine. It's fine. It's all good. It don't matter. We got Baker, but if Baker goes down, at least we can.
Yeah,
at least do something.
I don't think the wheels are going to fall off with Jake Browning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's a good shout. I like Browning a lot as a backup for sure. I was interested to see that. That's actually kind of going back to how it alters the Bucs draft plans. I don't think it alters their day 3 plans at all. They could still pick a quarterback at the end of the draft to kind of stash on the practice squad. I was curious to see maybe if they would draft a guy like Taylon Green, who's just like monster. He's huge. He runs. He's just an electric runner as well. I got a cannon of an arm, but very, very raw in terms of his tools. If he can put it all together, that'd be awesome. So I was curious to see if they maybe took a swing at a guy like that and made him their backup. But Jake Browning is definitely the higher floor, the safer option, and I totally get why they brought him in. So that's kind of another interesting storyline. I know the backup quarterback spot, not necessarily super sexy, not necessarily a headline grabber, but it's definitely interesting. So I'm with you. I didn't mind that as well. So I'm glad that you felt that way. I had a least favorite signing, and I hate to be the negative Nancy about it, but Kenneth Gainwell, man, and it has nothing to do with him as a player, everything to do with the price tag, $7 million.
Yeah.
Backup running back. It's tough, man. It's tough. I know he had a great season in terms of being a receiving back. So I definitely see a world where he is good enough to at least recoup some of that value. I just, man, with a team with as many holes as the Bucs have, $7 million could have been a veteran corner. It could have been another linebacker. It could have been an edge rusher. It could have been a million different things. I didn't necessarily see RB2 being the spot where $7 million was worth investing in, especially when you bring in the fact that Sean Tucker is making $3 million. That's $10 million for 2 backup running backs.
Yeah. And then, like I mentioned, the whole Otton situation, I feel like we overpaid Cade Otton. So
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just tossing a lot of money out there, Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, it's tossing a lot of money at offensive positions that probably aren't going to be super high impact. Like, all due respect to Kenneth Gainwell and Cade Otton, if the Bucs have a successful season, it's not going to be because of them. It might not be in spite of them. They could have solid seasons, but they're not going to be the number one reason why the Bucs turn the ship around.
Well, you never know. Injuries can happen too.
Yeah, so, yeah, for sure. And if an injury happens to Bucky, then Kenneth Gainwell becomes an important cog. And I do love the 2 running back sets that the Bucs could run. I think that there was value to be had in the running. I know the running back draft class coming up isn't necessarily super highly regarded, but I do think that there was at least a little bit of value that they could have added at day 3. I'm now that I'm thinking about it, Card, I have to say it makes me think, would it be weird or would it be odd to say that why didn't we run with just Bucky and Sean Tucker, just promoting Sean Tucker as RB2? Yeah, and then bringing in bringing
in someone else, an
undrafted free agent who's going to be making the minimum, or whatever. I don't know. I know if Zach Blaine were here, he'd yell at me for hating the running back position so much, and he's not entirely wrong. Like I don't even hate the running back position. I just think it's not necessarily the wisest investment of your resources, especially for a backup. But I digress. That's sort of my least favorite signing for the Bucs was Kenneth Gainwell, but I really hope he proves me wrong. He does genuinely do a lot of things really well on the football field. My problem is not with him as a player. It's not with him.
The money part. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's really the allocation of resources.
So weird to see, when we as fans want to go for someone, a little bit, of a reach, and then, the Glazers are just like, here, let's just throw some money at our boy Cade, for coming back. Let's give him a little, hey, thanks for staying with us bonus. And
yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. But regardless, we want to end on a positive note, even if it's not necessarily related to the Bucs. So did you have a favorite free agent signing from around the NFL? Like, this doesn't even have to be the Bucs. It doesn't have to be any specific team. Did you have a favorite signing from the rest of the league that you wanted to highlight or shout before we finish up this episode?
Ooh, dang, man. Crap, dude. That one, I'm like, I gotta say, you know what, I'm gonna let you go first, man. I have to think about that one.
You're good.
Yeah, what was your favorite signing?
My favorite was Tyler Linderbaum to Las Vegas. I know offensive lineman, Carter's big an offensive lineman, big whoop, but he is a very good center, and he provides some real stability to the interior offensive line of the Raiders when they already have pretty solid tackles, and then it kicks Powers to a guard spot where he already was playing last year. So it kind of adds a very high floor for their offensive line, and it provides some stability for Mendoza, who they're going to spend their first round pick on. And, you know, after the Crosby deal fell through, they couldn't really add more offensive talent to the roster, unfortunately, because having that extra first round pick this year would have been massive, because then they can draft Mendoza and then a wide receiver as well to pair with him. Instead, that's obviously not happening. Their wide receiver room pretty thin, but you can deal with having a bit of a thinner wide receiver room more than I think you can deal with having a awful offensive line for a rookie quarterback. Like, that could really screw Mendoza up. So I thought bringing in Linderbaum was huge, especially when they already have Colton Miller and Powers to kind of anchor that offensive line. I really like what they did there. So that was my favorite. But now that you'd had some time to think about it,
man,
hemming and haw about offensive linemen, did you have a favorite signing, Mr. Tariq?
Yeah, favorite one I gotta say is just because I hope he gets the chance and all that. I hope things work out well for Kyler Murray actually on the Vikings.
Yeah,
I think that's low risk, high value. Kind of wakes up JJ McCarthy a little bit. So, maybe a change of scene. I never, you never want to hate on a guy or a quarterback and be like, oh, this guy is absolutely trash, unless they, really prove it to you. And I just feel like some of these guys just may have not been in the right system.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy was, he was a highly rated pick. I mean, dual sport athlete. So clearly I feel like there's something, there. It's just, maybe he's just not in the right system, and, who knows.
Cardinals are a tough team to play for.
Yeah. Cardinals are just, I feel like Cardinals this year were just one of those teams you just forget about. There's always a couple of teams every year that you're just like, oh yeah, they're also in the league.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out. I do want to give a shout out to some our two division rivals. It made me kind of chuckle to see the Falcons getting Tua. And then I got to say, I have to give respect or props. I don't know how much the money is from the top of my head, but hey, man, shout out to Carolina Panthers beefing up their defense, man, with Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, man. That raised my eyebrows. So I'll give them props for that. I wasn't like my favorite signing, but I'm like, dang, man, okay. Like, y'all mean business, and it just makes me jealous. It's like, damn it, man, like, look at you guys beefing up your D-line. Why can't we do that?
Yeah. We can dream. We can dream about it. We can dream about the Bucs maybe bringing in a high impact player. But hey, regardless of whether they bring in a new impact player or if they make a big splash in free agency or with a trade, we're going to be back next week. We really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Definitely give us a like and subscribe on your way out. Give us a follow at RBLR Sports or at RBLR Bucs. We'd really appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Hopefully Mr. Blaine can return. He's off being a super baseball coach. Hope he's having a great night as well. Coaching his little kids teams. He's having a blast, I'm sure. But we'll be talking about some draft stuff. We'll be talking about draft positions in the near future for sure. So check back in for that. We'll also do some more fun trivia shows, kind of like we did similarly a few weeks ago. So definitely be tuned in for that. Really appreciate y'all for tuning in. But until then, and as always, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.